Hi, I am Jennifer Foxworthy, the founder and CEO of Inspirationally Speaking and the founder of the Unstoppable You Women's Conference. I was delighted to bring the second annual conference to the Fort Walton Beach, Florida area on Saturday, August 8th, 2015 at the Shoreline Church. I had an awesome and amazing presenter in Heather Burleson, a Damsel in Defense Pro. Her presentation is Personal Protection, Your God-Given Right.
All right. I moved off the stage because scaring the Jesus out of me. Pun intended. My name is Heather Burleson. I've been an NRA instructor or NRA certified instructor, and independent professional with Damsel in Defense for just over 2 years now, and I absolutely love this. I love being part of this mission, and I did want to start off by saying something outside of my speech today. A friend of mine who I've been working with for a couple of months now, she just gave her life to God today.
Amen.
And, oh my gosh, it was so amazing to get that message. And it was over a Facebook message, but just what she had to talk about was just really powerful and what she was going through. So I just want to share that. So send her some love from Shoreline. Yeah, wish she could have been here today. So just to talk a little bit about kind of tying Unstoppable You to what's brought me here is, so I did work in the intelligence career field, and all of these years, everything that I had kind of been working towards, the schooling that I went to, my background, I wanted to work with the FBI against human trafficking. That was my goal. And so after a divorce in September 2013, I actually applied for a job in North Carolina working as a targeting analyst side by side with the FBI. And I was like, this is my foot in, and this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I went up there and I interviewed, and of everybody that they interviewed, they chose me. And I felt so honored. And I put in my 2 weeks here, and I was getting ready to go up there. Everything was planned. And then a week out, I had this feeling in my stomach that I was making the wrong decision.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was. It was wrenching in there, and I was like, I couldn't ignore it. I had to say, like, something has to change. What is it? And of course, it sat there on my shoulders that that's not what I was supposed to do. So I turned down my dream job.
Wow.
And now this is what I do full time.
Wow.
So it is very scary to be here and to talk about this. This is kind of my first time giving a presentation like this. So I'm really excited. So I got some cool stuff that I want to talk to you about. With Damsel in Defense, I'm still supporting the fight against human trafficking mission. Awesome. And they give back from all of our sales. They give back, and they actually just recently purchased a home in another country to move children and women into those homes and get them out of their situation. And man, God works in mysterious ways. So there is a lot of controversy in what I do because I am a firearms instructor, and you hear about it on the news all the time. Just yesterday, there was another shooting here in Fort Walton Beach, and it's scary. And so I actually had a Damsel Defense team member of mine. She was at a church event with ladies, and she was giving her presentation, and one of the girls asked her, why would I have something like this fighting back? God will protect me. And she was like, Heather, I didn't know what to say. And at the time, I didn't know what to say either. It was still really new in my journey, but that is what I want to talk about today, actually. So God, personal protection is your God-given right. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of scriptures and give a couple of examples on my personal view on it. This is not to say that those beliefs are wrong. This is a personal view on kind of my journey and what I've seen. So just being a pistol instructor, people think that I'm training ladies to kill. That is very much the opposite. I think to be a concealed carry person is to love. because we love those people that are around us, and we want to protect them in that way. And so to differentiate what it is to protect yourself versus, acting out, or whether it's by, I have it in here. Let's see. A distinction must be drawn in the use of the word self-defense. So it's not an act of violence or vengeance or anger or the desire to inflict harm. It is protecting oneself and those unable to protect themselves and preserving life and death. So especially, us as Christians, we are on our own mission to bring others closer to God. And so to protect ourselves is exactly what he wants for us, because we are speaking his mission and his truth. So that is the strength that we are bringing in that way. So I'm going to make 3 points, using some points from the Bible and also a personal view on a couple of things. In Matthew 5:38 to 42, I'm just going to read that from my phone real quick. You have heard that it was said, eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. So there's actually 3 different things in here that I kind of picked out. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. So, kind of reading this, it's not, a slap is an insult, right? It's an insulting act, because it's not a full-on punch, it's just so to take on an insult is just that, just like what you were talking about before, it's not a way that you react back. It is an insecurity that they have that they're insulting you for, and it's not meant to take away from you. It's just something that they have wrong with them. So if somebody were to insult you, turn the other cheek. That is not, we don't act out in self-defense, because to act out in that way, that you just let them get to you and let them anger you, and it's not worth it. The second thing is, if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. I really like that. Just speaking nowadays, lawyers are going to take that from you anyway. And how much we're having to pay for those services. So, and I'll tell you in any of my classes that, if somebody wants to take something from you, if they want to take your purse, or they want to take, a personal belonging that you have, you know what, it's not even worth it. It's not worth getting into that fight, because those are going to lead into something bigger and something scarier. It could. So let them have it, throw it, and run the other way. Right? And the next one, if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. So back in the day, it was the Roman government, if you will, they could make you carry a certain amount of, whatever they wanted, weight on your shoulders, and tell you to walk 1 mile or walk 2 miles. And so just looking at it from that perspective, absolutely, I will take on that burden, and I will do it just so I can stay out of this personal confrontation, because it's not about me, it's about you and what you're going through, so I will be stronger. And I really like that message, that scripture. So second, Peter pulls a sword on the guards in the garden to protect Jesus, as they were coming to take him on his last night. But Jesus says, now is not the time. So that scripture can kind of be misinterpreted, because Jesus knew what was to come. So he was not saying, actually, let me continue here. He even stated in Matthew, do you think I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? So he could have said, I could have brought warriors in for me if that's what my purpose was, but it wasn't. He knew that what his purpose was and what his mission was, and it was to be taken away, to be crucified for us. Now, The point that I kind of wanted to bring out there was that, yes, he stopped Peter from going after those guards and starting like a bigger confrontation because it wasn't worth it. It would have taken Peter's life also with the amount of guards that were there, right? So, so no, Peter was supposed to live and to carry on that mission for Jesus. So, you know, it's an interesting way to look at it, is that he was one person ready to take on all these people when it wasn't part of the bigger mission. And I think that's really awesome. The third thing I wanted to say was kind of tying back to what Kim was saying. Lastly, to say that God will protect me is like saying God will provide for me if I do not work. Or like saying God will sustain me if I do not eat. That's not true. We do these things and have faith that God will do the rest. But trusting in God is not a passive action. It is active. We actively trust in His Word, and we actively trust that He will provide, but we are taking those actions in order to get closer to Him so that He will continue to provide for us. And that's the way that I see personal protection too, is, you know, as long as we're taking those steps, like, you know what, right now it's not worth it because it's not a threat to my life and it's not a threat to others. So until it does become that, we turn the other cheek. So I was going to quote something from, and if any of you ladies are concealed carry people, or you want to be, you can take my class, I'm just kidding. But I'm about to quote something from this book. It's called The Cornered Cat. This book is fantastic, and it was written by a former police officer who says that, you know, we as women should, have you ever heard like a, you know, mama bear protecting her cubs? She kind of looks at it as we should be cornered cats, because a cat will do anything that she can to get out of the situation, especially if you put her between her and her child. So I really love this book, and she very much has a Christian viewpoint as she writes it. And so some of the ideals that I'm talking about today were taken out of this book. But a quote from a well-known Christian theologian, Dr. Norman Geisler and J.P. Moreland, said, "To permit murder when one could have prevented it is morally wrong. To allow rape when one could have hindered it is an evil. To watch an act of cruelty to children without trying to intervene is morally inexcusable. In brief, not resisting evil is an evil of omission, and an evil of omission can be just as evil as an evil of commission. Any man who refuses to protect his wife and children against a violent intruder fails them morally." That's really interesting. So even just, you know, sometimes we're not well equipped to kind of put ourselves in between a violent act that's ongoing. And sometimes maybe it is just a phone call to support, but sometimes we don't have that time. And so, you know, always seeking out additional training in how we can support in case we are put into that situation is how we are actively supporting. So. In closing, so I have a little bit of time, I did want to tell a story of something personal that I went through. So, I mean, like, when I was 14 years old, I was living with my mom, and my mom was not a strong person. She was addicted to everything out there, but I thought I wanted to live with her because she let me do whatever I wanted, and I was a teenager, and that was my mindset at the time. Well, she was dating this man that cared even less for her than she cared for herself and for me, and they were in a verbal argument, and I was kind of standing outside with some friends of mine, and they heard what was ongoing, and I was like, "Hey guys, you know, I'm gonna have to go inside, so I'll see you guys later." And they're like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." Going inside and like seeing the physical, you know, what was going on physically between them, I was like, I need to do something because my mom is not going to. So this is really hard to say, by the way. So I went into the kitchen and I was like, I need to find something, anything that's going to allow me to have an advantage on this guy should he continue to do this to my mother. And I grabbed a pair of scissors. I couldn't find a knife. That was what was on my mind. And I tucked it up under my jacket, and I was ready to act. So the very last thing that he did right before he left was he took the cigarette out of his mouth and he put it out on my mom's forehead.
Lord have mercy.
And I was like, how can you just let somebody do that to you? It's weakness in my mind at the time. And so instead of like taking out those pair of scissors and acting in a way that my mind was telling me to, I knew, well, I didn't know at the time, but I know now, looking back on it, that the Holy Spirit had the wings wrapped around me and telling me no, because I could have. And where would I have been? I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have been able to talk to you. I wouldn't have been able to work out this mission. So I'm very thankful for what that feeling was at the time, and telling me no and not to act on it. So that was just a piece of the strength that I wanted to bring to you, and why it's important to act out of love whenever it comes to self-defense, and not out of an anger or a place that's not healthy in our minds and in our hearts as we continue to work on our mission towards God.
This is an Inspirationally Speaking LLC production, and you just watched the phenomenal Heather Burleson's presentation, Personal Protection, Your God-Given Right.